This is Brindlewood Bay, Tourist Season Part 8. We left the Mavens on kind of different separate cliffhangers, which we'll get to in a moment. I want to just do the normal recap right now, though. So I want to run through all the conditions right now for every character. I'll just state them. You don't need to tell me. I'm just going to go through. So Esther currently has Bloodhound and Bride of the Occluded King. I'll be curious to see how that gets cleared. um, Right now, Ruth has Shaken and the Black Egg. I think everybody has a weird one right now, except for Ida. Ida has no conditions as far as I can tell. And Laura has the Black Dog, the Clouded Past, and Frightened, which seems like the least important of those three, or the least problematic anyway. And then if we take a look at the mystery itself, we currently have 9 clues on this mystery, exit stage death. The complexity is 8. You're trying to figure out who killed Natasha Gray during a performance of the King in Shadow. It turns out that this theater troupe is a cult dedicated to an entity called the Occluded King, and we've been kind of learning more and more about them and their connections to the midwives as well. But the clues right now that you have are a book, Mysteries of the Occluded King, with an illustration of someone familiar. We've never followed up on that, but that's something to maybe look into again. Or you can just use it as a context for a theorize. A Shattered Briddy Award. It was Natasha's Shattered Briddy Award found on stage. There was a script of The King in Shadow. Written in the margins was, "I'm going to kill you." There's a secret 2-way mirror space that Laura discovered. It is being maintained by Otho Fane, who not only funds everything in the Twilight Playhouse, but also apparently has put up the Sinclairs in their apartment and everything else. So we have a camera with the lens covered. There is a black egg. It is sympathetic magic related to Giancarlo Thune. A chorus member's costume was found lined with arsenic, a sort of medieval method of assassination for history nerds out there. And Natasha, it turns out, is Ambrose's secret love child. And then we have human bones hidden in the crawl space above the Sinclair's apartment. And a quick rundown of the various characters. Ambrose Sinclair and Veruca Sinclair sort of run the show. Anthony Veidt and Belladonna Veidt. We have Gregor Thune and Giancarlo Thune. Gregor Thune, importantly, plays the Occluded King. It's very weird. We have Otho Fane and Delia Fane. And then we had Maxime Gray, but he killed himself at some point. And so that's sort of where that stands. And then in terms of the midwives conspiracy, you currently have 9 void clues, and because of one of the characters' Maven moves, that is a threshold level, which means crazy things are going to start happening with the midwives. So the very last thing that we saw for every character, Esther and Ida were involved in a seance back at the Sinclair's apartment. And the end result of that is someone, presumably Natasha, but it's unclear, someone contacted you during the seance and answered your question by causing a bunch of bones to fall onto the table. And then Ruth was with Giancarlo back at the Playhouse, and Ruth got attacked by a shadowy figure. And we have a die roll on the table for that right now. And then Laura opened up a wardrobe in the Sinclair's apartment and found a bloody willow crown. Importantly, the black dog wanted Laura to find this. That was an important detail. Did I forget anything in terms of the recap, or is there anything that we want to remind people of? Okay, then, with that in mind, let us continue. So, Ruth, you have a 7 to 9 on the table. I think it was a 9. And that means your quick thinking to unleash the viper on your attacker will be enough to save you, but there's going to be a complication or cost. I'm technically allowed to narrate what it the scene per the move, but I'm just going to say that you're going to take the condition frightened, but that you are otherwise able to succeed. You are not allowed to see the identity of the attacker. That's a rule in the game, and so narrate the scene to where you get away and don't know who attacked you.
Okay, so yeah, I think it's I was kind of being grabbed from behind, right? And so you see like she's just like desperately like grabbing for like trying to find something to hit this guy with, and like reaches into her purse, and you see her like hand grab the jar with the viper in it and uncap it and just throw it back behind her. And I think it gives her enough time to like run out, and I think just probably slams like right into Giancarlo.
Nice. And I think that person just kind of recedes into the darkness and you can't find him or her again. And Giancarlo says, "Are you okay, dear? What's going on?"
I was attacked. There's someone there behind the curtain. I'm like point, and there's obviously no one there now.
She says, "Oh my goodness. Maybe we should get out of here, or we should find the police."
We should definitely call the police. So yeah, I think definitely calling in the authorities here.
Good. I think we'll just cut the scene there. Is there anything else you want to do at the Playhouse, or are you pretty well? I think between shaken and frightened, you might have to leave. I'm not sure that like.
Yeah, I think like maybe waiting for the cops or something. But I don't think I'm trying to gather clues currently with the murderer on the loose.
Yeah, maybe the murderer. We don't really know, right? But yeah, good, fantastic. I think I'm gonna just pick up the scene post Bones with Esther and Ida and the rest of most of the theater troupe. So let's just pick up that scene. Ida, you were in the middle of a seance. Take it away.
Yeah, so the bones came crashing down to the table, and I imagine around that moment, I know Ida at least would be surprised enough by that she would let go of the hands that everyone was holding around the circle. And I think as she does that, all of those signs that a ghost was present there among them just immediately dissipate. And all that's left is this table covered in bones that had fallen from the ceiling. And I think after a moment's pause, Ida just announces to the room, "Well, would anyone care to explain this?"
And at that point, Veruca stands up and says, "Well, I think this is probably as good a time as any to end the party. Sorry, everyone. We should probably call the authorities or something to figure out what this is all about."
I'm usually opposed to such things, but in a moment such as this, I can't think of a better recourse.
And I think everyone is just sort of like a little shocked, kind of ready to go. A couple of them are very fascinated. I think Belladonna, the Vites are very fascinated by like what's going on here. Oh, maybe not Anthony. He's kind of I think he's just here because of Belladonna, to be honest. But Belladonna seems very interested, and she's about to touch the bones when like someone stops her because that could be evidence of a crime, right? Esther, what are you doing?
Well, I feel like Belladonna and I have the same idea. I am drunk and intrigued by these bones. Do they look like old bones? Like ancient bones? Do they look like recently cleaned bones? Like what do the bones look like?
I don't know if you'd be able to tell in your state. At a glance, they just look like they're fairly they haven't been bleached or anything like that. Like they've just been allowed to decay. So if that helps, but they are not fresh, that's for sure. Like the decay has been some time ago.
Okay. I'm just gonna lean over to Ida and be like, "This is very different than our last seance."
Ida like nods slowly. "And rather different than my last dinner party."
Good, very good. That feels like a good cut. Laura, you can hear the commotion in the room, but you might not even be focusing on it because you found something that's potentially even more shocking or intriguing. What do you do post finding the willow crown?
I think that probably Laura is getting out of there. I think she really has enough at the moment. Where did we leave it with her sister Tracy?
Tracy left. Yeah, she left.
She left, right?
Yeah,
And I think
because
Laura
she was
saw
startled
that.
by the fact that the
Yeah.
night sky had no stars or moon in it. So,
Yeah. So I think Laura will get out of this room that she's in back to the party, but actually with the intent of just grabbing her things and leaving. I think she wants to get out of this place and go somewhere where all of this is kind of away from her, and maybe to somewhere where she can rummage through some old letters or anything where she can, she really wants to calm her nerves, and that the way she normally does this is by stamp collecting, right? So if she can find a post office or something.
Yeah, I like that. If you want to have a scene with another Maven in order to trigger the cozy move, I think probably Ruth is the best bet, because there's a good chance that you two might run into each other, or maybe like going back to the hotel room or something like might be a good idea.
Yeah, maybe that's good actually, at the hotel, maybe the hotel gift shop or something.
Yeah, that's good.
Where maybe some local stamps or something, like frenetically, she would be kind of seeing if she can buy something there, and maybe Ruth could also be there. Yeah,
that sounds good, Ruth. We'll just have that scene. Take it away.
So I think Laura is in the gift shop, and kind of there's these super overpriced kind of touristy stamps, and she's just looking through them and taking, without even really deciding clearly on what it is that she's taking, and bringing them to the counter, and then maybe Ruth walks in.
Yeah, and so as soon as Ruth sees Laura, I think it kind of dawns on her like how awful she was being to Laura earlier in the night, and she like walks up to the counter and she's like, "Hey, Laura, why don't you let me get those for you?"
Are you sure? I just, this party was, I was so, and I remember I told you about this black dog I was seeing everywhere, and it reappeared, and then I'm not even sure anymore what is real, what I really saw and what I dreamt. I have to calm down. It's good that you're here. But I just couldn't stay there any minute longer.
Yeah, I always kind of thought that maybe the black dog was just some sort of, I didn't necessarily believe in the black dog, but there was something going on at that party, because I don't know what got into me, but I never should have talked to you the way I did. And, I'm just really sorry now that I'm like, my head's kind of clearing up a little bit. It makes me realize how terrible I was to you. So,
well, I didn't even really notice. There's so many other crazy things here.
Okay, well, don't check your text messages then.
Oh, okay. Look, why don't we go up to the room, and then we just we turn on the TV for some local news, whatever, some form of. I need to be grounded in like the reality of this. There were so many weird things going on, and it's really if you can, that would be great, if we can just relax for a moment.
Yeah, maybe you can tell me about some of these stamps. Well, this one looks really interesting.
I love it.
Oh, yeah, let me show you. And she starts showing these very touristy stamps there.
You can both clear an appropriate condition if you wish, and you'll find a clue as well, Laura, if you want to find that clue as well.
maybe with one of the stamps. So maybe Laura can't get away from all of this, and one of the stamps weirdly is has a crown on it, I think, that that might that might be a kind of similar imagery than the thing that she saw in the closet.
So this is like an antique stamp, like it's not like a current stamp.
Yeah, maybe that's an antique stamp that somehow got mixed in with these. So it might be, wasn't there? Let me see, with the clues.
The thing about the driftwood crown is it's actually it's not technically a clue for exit stage death, although you can certainly make reference to it. But yeah.
Yeah, let me think on this for a moment. I'll
think on it. I'll just make a note.
Yeah, sure.
But you have 10. So I mean, if you wanted to start theorizing and then like come up with a clue that accommodates your theory, that's something you could do as well. But it sounds like it might be a good opportunity for everyone to go back to the hotel room at this point. And are we feeling good about theorize at this point, or do we want to keep going?
I'm feeling good about theorize.
Let's just go straight into it then. Who has a theory that they want to propose?
Okay, I have a crazy theory that's not very well thought out yet.
Oh,
but
let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I think that, hold on, I gotta go look at the sheet here. Go look at the sheet. I think that Otho Fane is bankrolling Gregory Thune and possibly Giancarlo in some kind of like weird cult thing. And so I do actually think that the murder is related to that. Not our cult, not our midwives, but they have this like weird cult thing going on. And I think he's bankrolling them and that they have murdered Natasha as part of this ritual. And I suspect that the bones that fell from the ceiling might also be a part of that, since he seems to be putting the Sinclairs.
And he's the owner of the building. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're thinking Otho is the key suspect, and that the occult activity is not only real, but Natasha was part of it, and it might be something that the other members of the troupe aren't even aware of, like they would have never gone that far or something. So that's interesting.
Yeah, precisely.
Seems like a good start. I can definitely see a few different clues that line up with that. Does anyone else have any thoughts or another proposition?
Along those lines, I could also see them having like cultish tendencies, but instead of it being some real arcane ritual or anything of that nature, they could just be serial killers.
That is fair as well. Dan or Adrian, any like thoughts or additions or alternate theories?
I don't know. I do like the mundane murder theories of just like they're just straight up serial killers over the occult stuff. But I don't feel like I don't feel like I have a good enough grip on it to really sway it either way.
What if they
sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead, Adrian.
Just adding, because I like Ortho being the one that's kind of bankrolling it, but what about they are doing this in this kind of ritualistic occult way, but also actually has very mundane reasons for bankrolling the murders.
There definitely seems to be like a strong jealousy angle going on because there's certain aspects of the mystery that are not capital C clues, but they're definitely important context, right? Like Belladonna got replaced as the journeywoman in the play by Natasha. Natasha is an award-winning actress. Natasha is the child of Ambrose, which implies nepotism. There's a lot of like mundane jealousy, professional jealousy stuff going on as well, which I think has to be accounted for in some way because of all the stuff because of the clues.
So what if Otho and potentially Gregor as an accomplice or someone as an accomplice has been carrying out these killings, and Belladonna, out of jealousy, she was the one who wrote in the script, "I'm going to kill you," to presumably Natasha, and either they discovered that she was making these threats and asked her if, like, hey, you want to make good on these, or she discovered that they were killing people and asked for their help. I can see either angle, but like, what if it was a meeting of interests between
so Otho, Gregor, and Belladonna? Is that the trio you have in mind?
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Gregor, because like
I don't even know if Gregor has anything to do with it, right?
Yeah.
So I could see this being, there is some supernatural thing going on, but Belladonna just fucked it all up by killing Natasha because she was jealous.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I think there's certainly something occult going on, because I think just the presence of the midwives, like the fact that Jane Leaf, or Jane Carfax, if you will, showed up to keep an eye on things and was intrigued by the intersection of the Mavens and the theater troupe. Like, I think that implies that there's definitely something real there, but I think Natasha's murder was an accident, or not an accident, but like not part of the plan. That's my feeling.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like Natasha's death like advanced the supernatural plot, really. Like, it just feels kind of random.
One gets the impression that maybe they intended to at some point, but like,
sure, yeah,
yeah.
What about the whole thing kind of, was like first it was this idea to make the play as realistic as possible, maybe for winning an award or something, and then it kind of got out of hand because some of the people got like kind of into this into their roles too much and started this occult thing up.
I like that idea a lot, but I also like the idea, sort of maybe picking up on that, maybe they're not entirely in control of their own selves. So we have the costume line with arsenic, we have the weird magical egg. Maybe Otho is our supernatural element, and he's like done something so that the troupe are not sort of in their right mind anymore. And then he's lost control of it, and that's how Natasha ended up dead, perhaps before he intended her to.
Which would be an interesting twist, because I think we've been kind of led to believe that the sort of occult ringleaders are Veruca and Ambrose, right? And Otho is like the sort of slightly disinterested money man, right? Like, or at least disinterested in the occult aspects. But Otho is like so enmeshed in everything that's going on that Otho might have like real power, right? Like, he might be a real actor, whereas these others are kind of like just pawns or whatever. I think that's a cool approach.
Well, it's really cool because Otho is the knave in the play, right? So like, it'd be very ironic for him to
he's the knave. Yeah.
And then also tying in with that, the familiar person in the Mysteries of the Occluded King could actually be Otho, and of course, he's playing a more bit role in the play, but that's because he has a greater production in mind. So that sort of thing. I don't know. I really like that idea.
Well, so let's start going through clues. It seems like we're pretty well settled on Otho having done it, or at least being the ringleader of it. So we want to go ahead and just establish that someone familiar is Otho. Is that what we're going to establish in the Mysteries of the Occluded King book?
So before we actually start checking off clues, who actually murdered Natasha, though? Because I was getting the sense that Otho is like pulling the strings, but that maybe
he didn't actually
Belladonna
plunge the dagger.
Actually did it. Yeah. And so I think there's a question of like who's ultimately responsible versus who the like physical murderer is.
Yeah, like Otho may not even go to jail for this, right?
Right, I mean, exactly. Yeah.
Which would make him a great recurring villain, by the way. So.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So Belladonna?
I mean, that would be my inclination. I feel like that's the easiest one to put as the actual murderer.
And I also think that, like, as her role as part of the chorus, if there was a greater ritual that was being conducted, she absolutely was probably not the one who was supposed to commit the killing in the end.
Right.
And so that would ruin the whole thing.
Okay, so let's work through it. So then the illustration, who's in the illustration then? Is it Otho or Belladonna?
I mean, it could even be Gregor, and maybe Otho was trying to summon the occluded king into Gregor, and it seems like he's halfway there, right? So
Yeah.
like it maybe halfway worked. And
Okay,
it
I'm
seems
into
like
that.
he's getting possessed off and on.
That feels good to me, unless somebody has a different thought. We'll go ahead and mark it. The Shattered Bridia Ward, is that just Belladonna's jealousy?
I think so.
Yeah. Same with the script. Do we want to add context that we found another piece of handwriting of Belladonna's and it matches the margin script? The two-way mirror space, I think maybe just speaks generally to the idea that Otho is a mastermind here. Seems reasonable the way you've described it. Remind me about the camera with the lens covered. I don't remember how that one came about.
So that was one that Ida had taken note of. It was a camera that was like not on stage, but pointed at stage where originally Natasha had been found, and the lens had been covered. So I guess how I would see that integrating with this, especially if Belladonna is the one that did it, then I don't think Belladonna was aware of any of the stuff with Otho, and she just noticed that there was a camera pointed at set, and she covered it.
And
Nice.
I think maybe this is why something might have gone wrong, maybe because I think the whole camera that might have been, because it seems like with the two-way mirror space and so on, Otho is playing this different game. He's kind of controlling everything and watching everything, and maybe he was also supposed to watch the play, and somehow because the camera got covered, this might have something to do with why things went wrong and Natasha got killed.
Yeah, he couldn't control it in that moment, right?
Yeah, he couldn't control it anymore, something like that.
Yeah. Love it. What about the black egg, and it particularly as connected to Giancarlo? That seems like an outlier in the theory here.
I think this is one of those ways that maybe Otho is like trying to manipulate people. This is
The
where
whole group, right?
supernatural
Yeah,
comes
okay,
in.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe this is just like his particular thing for Giancarlo.
I like it. Very good. The costume being lined with arsenic, that was something that took place in the past. That wasn't recent. So what's the deal there?
Well, maybe that speaks to like past enmity between Natasha and Belladonna, right?
Okay,
So
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
that was Natasha
Yeah.
going for Belladonna.
I mean, she's named Belladonna, so there might be like poison might be her first or preferred method, right? Yeah. That seems reasonable if nobody has an objection. Natasha being Ambrose's love child feels like another Belladonna Natasha link to me in terms of jealousy and stuff. So who the bones belong to?
Maybe they're the chorus member with the arsenic. Maybe it's like a cover-up of some kind. Although I guess it depends on how long ago that was.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about the arsenic is if we're saying Belladonna did it, that almost makes me think that Otho didn't like have any hand in that necessarily. The bones and the apartment building and Otho seem to be very well connected logically, but I just don't know what they represent in this particular mystery.
I mean, that could be some occult thing that Otho's got going on, right? Like it creates some some sort of like power in the apartment that he's operating in.
Oh, and maybe the book has like references to that. That would be kind of cool, like that book that you all found. We'll go with that for now. And then, so what about this last clue, Adrian? Anything that would kind of help tie this up with a bow? Oh, Adrian, if you're there, we can't hear you.
Sorry, can you, if I have another clue? Yeah, I was thinking whether kind of going with this the stamps somehow, but I'm not really coming up with like what kind of letter maybe Laura could have seen in the mirror space or something like that.
Anybody else have any thoughts on the floating clue that could have been found between the gift shop and the hotel room? Something along there.
Yeah.
Or just a dawning
Or like
realization.
a realization.
Yeah, realization
Right?
would be
Yeah,
fine
exactly.
too. Yeah.
It would be nice if we
So,
could find something that linked like Otho and Belladonna a little more potentially.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So maybe because this space was Otho's private space, right? Between the so maybe maybe actually there was a framed picture of Belladonna in that space.
Interesting. Implying like a deeper connection between the two of them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, I'm into that. I think that's an interesting idea, especially because Antony doesn't really seem like Belladonna's type. Like how'd they get together? But also that's something we haven't really addressed at all, which we don't have to, but it's very intriguing that the theater troupe is all man, woman, husband, wife pairs. Like I'm curious what that means. I mean, it obviously has some sort of symbolic significance to them because of Hades and Persephone, you know, but it's intriguing. Okay, so it would be weird that he would have a picture of Belladonna, I think. It would stand out for sure. So
this is maybe not important in any way, but maybe he and Belladonna do have like a little thing, and so he like filled her in, or she learned about his plan, and then maybe she thought that by murdering Natasha she would be like helping his supernatural plan.
It satisfies two aims of hers. She doesn't like Natasha and she can help with the big grand plan. But so it's interesting because even though Otho is sort of a would-be ultimate mastermind of Natasha's death, he wasn't responsible for this one, right? Like, so he's not really technically culpable. The law would not put him in prison, well, depending on how much he was manipulating Belladonna, but Belladonna did the deed. And so what's your accusation going to be? Is it going to be against Belladonna, or are you going to make an accusation at all? You're just going to leave it? Like, you could just not make an accusation and just have that in your back pocket as well. It's up to you. But I'm curious, like, how are you all going to, like what do you think your role is here in terms of like justice?
Well, I think we need to definitely, I mean, Belladonna literally like physically murdered someone. So right. I think she needs to be brought to justice. And then I think we need to sit down with Jeremy and discuss his future with this theater troupe.
Probably a good move, I think. Yeah.
Also, I know Esther has the Milton Hardcastle Maven move for inflicting some extrajudicial punishment on a wrongdoer. If we were interested in doing something to Mr. Thane there, maybe in support of that, I don't know.
Yeah, that's an intriguing idea as well. Well, let's see how the die roll goes. Who wants to roll 2d6 plus 2?
So if anybody wants to try to integrate a couple floating clues, if we want more bonuses,
oh, that's true.
I do have an amethyst medallion and a sailor's love letter.
Those feel so.
And I guess technically I should get another one, right?
Oh, you
for
do?
This session.
Yeah. I'll give it to you.
But we can do
start
it later.
The next mystery.
Yeah. Maybe this amethyst medallion belonged to Otho or something like this. That seems kind of mystical, right? That seems like it could have some sort of occult power in it.
Didn't you get handed? Where did you get that clue?
I have no idea. That was like 3 weeks ago.
It was either a bellhop. It was the bellhop.
It was a bellhop. Yeah.
It was a bellhop. Yeah.
Interesting. It could be like we had the egg, of course, with Giancarla. This necklace could be related to Belladonna.
Oh, that's what. Oh, I see. So he's got objects that he uses. So like the skeletons was used against the Sinclairs.
Yeah.
The black eggs used against Giancarla. The amethyst being used against Belladonna. I have a feeling Antony probably wouldn't be susceptible to this sort of sympathetic magic.
Yeah.
and yeah, so that's pretty good. I like that. That's a pretty good angle, actually.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, well, so that'd be +3. That's a great. You can just cross off that clue, Dan. But
Yep.
+3. Whoever wants to roll it, take it away.
I've got my dice ready if you guys want. It's been
Go ahead.
good the last few times. And hey, that's not too bad. That's a 4 and a 4 is 8. +3 is 11.
Nice. So that's a clean resolution. I think I'm just gonna just do a sort of round robin narrating how this resolves. I don't think I need any more dice rolls or anything. We'll start off with, I'm gonna end with Alicia, so Alicia can describe the extrajudicial punishment of Otho. But we'll start with Adrian. Adrian, where is the accusation, or where is this going down at?
I think so. I wonder whether this is something like whether Laura is, whether the others actually convince Laura to pick up her role as this theater group leader again, and she goes to their practice space the next morning or the next evening, let's say.
I like that.
And with the others, maybe, yeah.
So you're going to be meeting them at the Twilight Playhouse then? That's
yeah, I think at the Playhouse.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think Laura will be kind of in character again with this as this play troupe leader.
So Ida, where does it go from there?
I think so obviously we aren't in the play, but I think we've all come in solidarity for Laura, and also because we know what needs to be done here tonight. I guess before I take any sort of narrative control here, is what we're doing with Giancarla like calling the police and getting them involved in this, or do we have a different angle with that? Or Belladonna, rather, sorry.
I mean, it feels like the police are appropriate, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if that's not too crazy, because Laura is supposed to take over this role, right? So might it be too crazy to kind of have them stage this play again, and then and we tell the police like, look, they're going to try to kill someone else, and they should step in.
Well,
like
we don't
baiting.
know. I mean, we don't. I mean, I think that like we don't know that they would want to kill you.
No, we don't know it, right?
Because
yeah.
Belladonna was particularly jealous of Natasha, right? Or envious, really. I mean, that's a very like elaborate way of getting the police involved.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
And it might make good TV, so it's not totally off the table, I suppose. But I'm curious, like why you can't just call the cops and have the cops, come.
That's right. Yeah.
Do the thing. But well, so Ida, keep it going.
Or maybe maybe to make it a little less extreme, like we could make this accusation and then kind of expect them to maybe become violent in response to it, maybe. So that's why we have the cops as backup.
Oh, I like that. That's good. Like they see how Belladonna reacts or whatever, and they're there to like stop her or whatever. Yeah. Okay. Well, so Ida, keep it going.
Yeah. So maybe we've alerted the police ahead of time. They're perhaps on their way, but we wanted to have a moment here to talk before. So the cast have largely assembled on stage. They might be doing like a quick like as everyone has their scripts, or if they don't feel like they need it, they don't have it or whatever, but they were about to start like a little round robin just to run through, since they haven't run through with Laura before, of course, and like when they're about to start that, I am imagining that Laura probably initiates this, since she's the one on stage with them and we're just in the crowd. So Laura, if you were to stop the proceedings and point a finger, how would you do that?
that's dramatic.
I think, yeah, I think Laura would kind of, after they went through a scene or two, I think Laura would say, well, I think actually what happened here a few nights ago, let's talk a little bit more about that. What was your role in that, Belladonna?
So what's the reaction here, Dan? Like, how does the play go off the rails, or how does Belladonna react? Like, what's going on now?
So, I think Belladonna is like, she's just trying to brush it off at first, right? But then as the, well, what about this shattered Britty Award and this script that says I'm going to kill you? Like, you can see the facades sort of start to break.
So you're literally like doing the accusation scene of the mystery show on stage, like while people are watching the show.
Hell yeah.
I love that. It's good. Yeah. It's good. So ultimately, Belladonna is going to be brought in, and this is going to make the news. Of course, this is a really big story, especially how things played out and all that stuff. I'm sure Laura Sanchez is there, ready to podcast the house down boots about this, and give us the sort of denouement, Esther, of your extrajudicial punishment of Otho.
So I think that once realizing that Otho was sort of the mastermind, I collected his various control mechanisms, the bones, the amethyst, the egg, the ones that we know about at least. And then I burned them, and I took a video of it and I sent it to him. No, nice. I think I sent it to him in the mail, like a photo with like the ashes of the burnt things.
Nice. Good. Fabulous. That concludes Exit Stage Death. Thank you very much. We're going to kick off a new mystery. I decided to hold off. I'm going to hold off a little bit on a sweeps week. I want to have one more back in Brindlewood Bay mystery before we do a sweeps week. But let's take a break a little bit longer. Let's just go on the hour. Come back on the hour, and we'll resume. And we're going to kick off with the little montage scenes of all of you in Brindlewood Bay, enjoying your life in Brindlewood Bay. So be ready with that as well. Now's a good time to change up your end of session questions if you wish. And we shall begin with some cozy vignettes, seeing your Mavens enjoy their life in Brindlewood Bay. And if you have a shadow in the garden marked, keep that in mind as well for the texture of the scene. Whoever wants to go first, just say so.
Mine's pretty short and sweet. So I think we see Ruth, and it's like a beautiful sunny day, and she's out at a dam. And she's like looking over the edge into like the little fish ladder, and she's got a notebook, and she's counting the salmon as they're going up the fish ladder. And like the alarm goes off in her pocket, and she looks down and she's like, oh, that's my hour. And she totals up her numbers, and she's like, oh, good numbers this year, and turns and walks away. But the camera lingers like above her, and you see this like oozy black thing covered in tentacles and eyeballs like slough its way up the salmon ladder as she walks off.
Nice. The producers of the show are just going for it at this point.
They are, yeah.
Hey, we're 9 void clues in. We're just going for it.
So I think Laura, she came home, like when she came home, she just threw this yellow costume that she was wearing all the time on a chair, and then she went to bed. And she wakes up quite early. It's still dark. She can't sleep anymore, so she goes and hangs that up in her closet, the costume. And I think she notices this old Indian book that we have heard about before that she has kind of tucked at the back of the closet, and she kind of stops for a moment. She takes it out and she puts it on the coffee table, but then she decides now she will go out And she goes to this breakfast place that she always goes to have breakfast and to kind of relax. And she goes there. They barely, when they open, like at 6 in the morning, she sits there on the terrace and she watches the sunrise. Everything kind of quiet over Brindlewood Bay, over the bay. But then she sees, like behind a street corner, she's not sure if she has seen, but there might have been again a black dog. She kind of hurriedly gets up, pays for her breakfast. She goes home, and I think this time she wants to see whether maybe she can find something in this book about how to get rid of this apparition.
Thank you.
I think a couple of days after they get back from their trip to Boston, Ida finds Esther early in the morning, and the two of them go on like a lovely walk through the park with Bo, where Esther points out some of the different, birds that she really likes to see that are native to the area. And I feel like this isn't the first time that they've gone on a walk like this together, but this is, in a smaller handful of times where they've done it, hand in hand, arm in arm, and really enjoying each other's company as they go. And I think for my shadow in the garden, I like in line with what Dan had for Ruth, where like, the camera is following them as they go and points out one bird, points out another. And I think like Esther goes to point out one, and then like as it flies away, like the camera, which had been, fixed on this forward position, like transitions to the rear. There's the word. It focuses further behind, and you can see just like this big black vulture just sitting up in one of the trees watching them as they go about their walk. Their very pleasant walk in the Brindlewood Bay, city park.
Love it. Thank you.
Yeah, so mine is also an Ida and Esther together forever sort of thing. So it's like one of those hazy afternoons in the like late afternoon and the sun's really warm, and Esther is at Ida's house helping her with her plants, and just like brought her some new ones and helping her set up like a little like kitchen garden, for herbs and stuff, and potting like the plants into some of the pottery that Ida has made. And it's like a lovely little productive gardening day. And the camera lingers as we leave the shot on the one of the recently potted plants that like decays almost instantly, like just like drops all its petals and they all dry up and it dies.
Hopefully not a metaphor for your future romance. Good. Good. Our new mystery is called All Hallows Scream. It's complexity 6. Simple one. And here's how it starts. You are all guests at a Halloween party being thrown at the fabulous Brindlewood Bay home of Coco and Abner Vidal. I'll type that here. Abner is a retired filmmaker, famous for gonzo B-grade pictures. And Coco was a frequent star of his films, and now they're married and they have moved away from Hollywood to Brindlewood Bay. As you approach Abner's home, or the Abner's home, or sorry, the Vidal's home, the Vidal's home, what ostentatious thing do you see outside that reminds you that they don't fit in with Brindlewood Bay's stuffy upper crust? Also, tell us about your costume. Think on it for a minute. Whoever wants to go first, take it away.
Okay, so I think that the Vidals are 100% like a nude statues kind of family, just like in the yard, like everywhere. It's not even just one, it's so many, just like really naked statues. And they're like they're made out of marble, like they're awful, honestly. And I think that Esther is going to go, obviously, as the world's hardest worker, the bee. And she's wearing like a little bee costume.
Nice, I love it.
So I think the first thing, like when you pull up to the house, there's a DJ who is like wearing a big helmet and stuff, and like he's probably very fancy, like very well known, but no one here has any idea who he is, and he's playing to like very like stone-faced residents of the town as they walk past. And I think Ruth's costume, I think she was like kind of caught by surprise by this thing. So she just went to Walmart, like swung by Walmart real quick. And the only thing they had left was like a giant pumpkin.
I love it. Good. And Ida.
I'll start with the costume. So Ida, not to get too kishy here, but I think she might have gone for a matching costume with Esther. Not also a bee costume, but I think I've mentioned way back when we did setup that Ida sort of has had a string of hobbies. And I think at one point, one of them was beekeeping. And so I think she has like the actual bee protective, garment with the headpiece and all of it. She has all of it. And so she's just wearing her official beekeeper garb. And I think what they have out front that is just sort of outrageous is, I think not only do they have like all of these nude statues and stuff, but they have like a fountain in the center that has like the two of them in the nude, like doing. Is there like I want to think of like a really famous fountain that has people in it, and it's them in that. They have taken the place of the like that original one.
I love it.
That's a bit dumb.
People look up something later and find out. I was looking away at something when you were doing yours, Dan. What was their ostentatious thing for you?
Oh, just their like super popular DJ who's trying to drop beats as everyone's walking past, trying to ignore him.
God, I love it. It's good. So Adrian had to drop out for the rest of the session, but so we'll see what Laura was up to next time. But for now, it's just the three of you at the party. And you are met at the near the, when you first come in, by Abner Vidal. He is wearing a King Tut costume, and he greets you. He says, "Welcome, welcome, the famous murder mavens, solving murders in town. I love it. If I was still in the game, I'd want to make a picture about you ladies. Do you like the pictures?"
Well, our dear friend Laura is certainly an accomplished actress in her own regard. She would love to star in your pictures if you ever come back on the scene.
It's like, well, sure. I mean, I've been away from the biz, for a long time. I had to get away from the hustle and bustle, that the fast-paced lifestyle in Hollywood. It was time to call it quits. But really fascinated by your story, and I hope that maybe we can work on something creative together at some point.
Well, I'm so happy that you found the pace of life you were looking for here in Brindlewood Bay.
And he'll sort of just be greeting the next guest coming in or whatever. And here we're just gonna have a few scenes where we meet all of the future suspects. So I think, the party is mostly happening in this sort of like central entryway, which is like a kind of a large like hall where like you can get champagne and things like that. And then there are a couple of rooms off to the side. One's like a like a bar and lounge, and the other is the famous Tinseltown room, which people in town talk about. And this entry hall especially is decorated with enormous, like oversized posters of Abner's movies. Things like Werewolf Nuns of Normandy, parts 1 through 3, right? You know, Zombie Queen, the Zombie Queen from Planet X, and so forth. Like, it's this sort of movie, right? And they're enormous. They loom over, right? And the posters principally feature Coco as the lead actress, but also there are other actors and actresses, one of which may be here at the party. In fact, you may notice her if you're a film buff. You may notice Elena Visage, who was one of his regular players. She's currently here dressed in a vampiresque costume, a sort of plunging neckline Elvira type getup, right? And she's at the bar, you know, sort of regaling people with stories of her days in Hollywood. There is a man in the corner who you don't recognize. He seems to be not having any fun at all. His dour demeanor is enhanced by the fact that he's dressed up like Frankenstein's monster, and so that's something to note. There's a friendly guy sort of making the rounds, dressed in a Phantom of the Opera costume, you know, tuxedo, cape, mask, all that. You'll eventually see Coco. You'll spot her right away because she's dressed like Cleopatra to sort of match Abner's King Tut getup. And there's one man who's also standing in the corner who's not dressed in the costume at all, unless he's going as prickly business manager. That's his costume. You will recognize June Willoughby, a local. She's a snob, and she's currently dressed in a sock hop costume. And there's a maid, an elderly maid, going about. She's wearing cat ears. And that's sort of the room. That's sort of what's going on. I'm going to start with Esther. What do you do? There's no murder yet. It's just hanging out.
Weird question. Abner Vidal, is he white?
Oh, yeah, I imagine as he is, but I mean, it doesn't have to be, I guess.
Okay, I just
it's not defined.
It's relevant for me, my opinion on his costume. So
fair enough. Yes. No. I mean, trust me, if you'd seen his movies, this is not even like scratching the surface of the cultural appropriation Abner Vidal has gotten up to during his career.
Yeah. So I guess I'm just like very put off by this. It's very like not appropriate. You know, Esther likes to think that having been married to a brown man, that she's kind of like above it all. She's still got, you know, some whiteness problems happening there. And so I think that she's gonna lean over to Ruth and be like, I do not think that this man is very appropriate at all. Did you see what he was wearing? Look at those posters.
I'm just happy he's wearing clothing at all. Did you see the statues?
I don't know if we're too woke or not woke enough for this party.
June Willoughby comes over and she says, oh, I know, just look at this place. Everything is so ostentatious. And it's just like Coco to buy this cheap swill as she takes a drink. Champagne. Who ever heard of champagne? Ida, what are you doing?
I think Ida like had wandered off to the edge of the party a little bit. I think she usually, like with events like this, likes to sort of take it all in before figuring out, you know, who maybe she wants to talk to, or if she wants to talk to anyone at all. And I think that maybe while she's sort of over here standing, I like the idea that maybe she either runs into while she's, you know, looking at someone else, or just otherwise more colloquially runs into the maid with the cat ears. mostly because I imagine she'd just be like, oh, sorry about that. I love your costume. You know, I've owned 2 or 3 cats in my life, and they're wonderful creatures. And like, I just imagine she goes and like doesn't necessarily understand the significance of like this maid woman and cat ears, and instead just regales her with like her experience of owning and loving cats.
Yeah, and the maid, whose name is Mrs. White, by the way.
Okay.
She's a little older. She's about y'all's age, and she's very she's kind of unfriendly, and she just says, "I'm allergic to cats."
Well, you know, my mother was allergic to cats, and that didn't stop her from owning 2.
Well, if I'm around a cat, my throat will close up and I'll die. So it's a little bit more of a serious situation.
Oh, wow, you know, it's really crazy. A cat allergic to cats.
She seems like she doesn't know what you're talking about. And then she just keeps going.
Nice. Oh, great party. And Ida takes a sip of her drink.
Indeed. So Ruth, where are you headed to after dealing with June and Esther's skepticism about the party?
So once I've got like a drink or 2 in me, I'm gonna go cheer up Frankenstein's monster because he doesn't look like he's having a good time, and I feel like he should be. So
Yeah, he's definitely not. He says, when you walk up.
Well, I mean, I'm clearly not going to be scared of you. I'm a pumpkin. I don't have the capacity.
He's like, you're Ruth, right?
Oh, I am, yes.
I've seen you in my
you got me at a
bank.
disadvantage.
I'm Gordon Thune. I'm the banker.
Gordon, I heard about you.
Oh, really?
I don't remember the context. Giancarlo, maybe? Maybe she knew you.
Oh, you know my sister-in-law?
Oh yeah, that would be. Oh, Thune, right. Oh, strong champagne, huh?
Yeah, well, I think it's actually champagne, to be clear.
Oh, I'm not sure I know the difference.
Well,
it comes from the Champagne region of France?
Champagne region of France, exactly. He says, who knows what kind of depraved nonsense Abner has planned for us at this party. These Hollywood types. They're just different from you and me, you know?
Well, sure, but you know, sometimes it's nice to have a little vacation to Hollywood, right? Hollywood comes to you. We don't even have to leave town.
I wouldn't even be at this party if his deposits weren't so big.
Oh, well, I mean, what are you going to do, right?
You can tell this is going nowhere fast.
Would you like a drink? I feel like you need a drink.
Esther, what are you up to?
So, I think that I don't like June Willoughby.
She's the worst.
So I feel like I'm literally just gonna like turn and walk away from her. Just like leave the conversation and go find someone else to talk to because I'm not into her at all.
Elena Visage, the actress, who is not local, she's not from here. She came in for the party though. She's there, and also Marcus Greaves, the manager, Abner's business manager. He is also from out of town. They are both, you know, he's mostly just like keeping quiet and keeping to himself and nursing his drink. She's sort of holding forth with the gentleman dressed in the Phantom of the Opera costume, kind of going on for a bit. She's like, I mean, surely you've seen my work. Variety once said my performance in Devil Women from Planet X was the most acting they'd ever seen. He's like, well, no, sorry, I'm not very familiar with it. Abner and I are just doing some local business together. I'm not really well versed in his oeuvre. So Esther, what do you do?
So I'm going to approach the actress. I'm going to be. I've also had a little champagne. I don't know. I haven't done that much, but I've had some champagne, and I'm feeling quite emboldened. So I'm going to go up to her and be like, "Oh yeah, you know, it's so." Fame's tricky. Sometimes they know you, sometimes they don't. It's weird in this business, don't you? And I feel like I'm gonna just be like overly familiar. Like, even though I worked in television, I feel like these must be my people.
Yeah, Elena says, "Oh, hello. I'm Elena Visage, but you probably knew that already.
Of course. Yes.
You're in the business, it sounds like."
Oh yeah, retired now, but yeah, I spend plenty of time on camera myself when I looked as good as you did.
She's like, well, you know, I managed to keep things up, even though it doesn't really help getting roles. As you know, once you turn 40, everything just kind of drops off in terms of your career. But, well, you know, that doesn't mean we can't do our best to, you know, to be ready whenever an opportunity strikes.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, you look ready. Do you have new projects on the horizon?
Well, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't here trying to convince Abner to maybe look at some scripts that have come my way, but you didn't hear that from me.
Of course not.
And the business manager, the one he's very handsome, very like silvery piercing eyes. He's not in a costume. He's like, these parties are such a waste of time. The people in this backwater are never going to accept Abner as one of their own. So I'm not sure why he even tries. I need to get him back to Hollywood. You're right, Lena. He has to go back. Los Angeles misses Abner and Coco Vidal. And yeah, so that's kind of the nature of what's going on there. Sort of wanting Abner back in Hollywood. But the third person there, the Phantom of the Opera guy, he's a local business partner of Abner's. So there's some tension with like their relationship or whatever. And this is going on for a bit. No one else has arrived yet at the party when it's interrupted by a shrill scream coming from the back veranda. Ida, what do you do?
Not one unacquainted with shrill screams. I think Ida will immediately go to see what happened.
You will go and you will see that Mrs. White, the maid, is on the back veranda. Abner is dead. His head has been submerged in a large metal basin being used to bob for apples. What do you do?
I think she's going to run over to Abner and like pull him out of the water and see if he's all right. Only I presume to realize he's very much not.
He's quite dead.
Yeah.
Quite dead. Ruth, a question. You're having a bit of a romantic affair with one of the people you've seen at the party tonight. Maybe a low-key thing. Who is it?
So I think that one of my former students has come back to town. His name is Richard.
Okay.
And like he was, you know, we did some field work together, but nothing ever really happened, right? Because I was married at the time, but now he's come back to town. Like
Good.
after he's retired.
So he's there.
Yeah,
what's he dressed as?
He is, I think he's also a pumpkin. It just so happened that like he also showed up as a pumpkin and we're like, oh my God.
That's good. I think he's showing up. I think he shows up to the party like right as like the shrill scream, you know, like right as like the situation's getting kind of hot. Doesn't mean he wasn't creeping around before, but he's making himself known right now. And he kind of steps inside and he sees you, Ruth, and he says, Ruth, I didn't know you were going to be here. What's going on? Everyone seems a little on edge.
Well, I don't want to alarm you, but I think we're about to be on another case.
Oh my. I've been listening to your podcast. It's pretty crazy. It makes me think maybe you're the one doing the killing, just to sort of have stories for your show.
Well, that would be crazy though.
Well, I'm just joking. How have you been? Apart from someone's dead, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it. It does seem like it happens an awful lot. But other than all the death, things have been really good here.
He's like, well, do you want to get out of here? Go take a ride or something? Can I clear your head? I'm still able to drive at night, so.
Wow, well, that is attractive, but I think that my fellow Mavens kind of need me here. This is kind of our thing. That the police are terrible here, right?
Well, yeah, they're the worst. Oh, well, okay.
Hey, but I mean,
I guess I'll
we
grab
should
some
definitely
champagne
catch
then.
up later.
Yeah.
Oh, it's champagne, but you should, yeah.
So let's just kind of pick up with being back on the veranda. All the guests are on the veranda now, and the three of you are there as well. And Abner's body's been discovered. Mrs. White says she just heard a noise and she came back and found him there like that. People were moving around enough to where anybody could have done it, but this is a bit of a bottle mystery. The mystery is here in the house, and Sheriff Dalrymple will be along soon to kind of shut the scene down, I'm sure. But in the meantime, before Sheriff Dalrymple arrives, what are the three of you doing?
I don't want to go through where the bobbing for apples basin is, and investigate that in the surrounding area in case there's anything suspect.
Okay, sounds good. Esther, what about you?
I think that bloodhound condition, I think I got my little notebook out and I'm starting to ask people what they saw.
Okay, and Ruth, what will you be doing?
So Ruth's go-to move seems to be just going through dead people's pockets. So I think that's step number one.
Good. I'd have your meddling move with reason. We'll see how that goes. Let's take a look at your conditions too, see if anything's relevant or cleared. Oh, you don't have any, so go for it. And don't forget, if you can ever work in a personal quarters or a cozy little place item, you get a bonus as well. So Ida, what was your die result? You're muted.
Yep, I just realized that. I'd originally dropped my case off the table. 4, 5, that is a 9. And then reason is down to just 1 now, I believe.
So that makes it a 10 still.
That's true.
As always, you can bump it if you want to spend a crown to get a 12. It's up to you.
You know what? I can always go with some more void clues. Sure.
Yeah, because it's especially helpful for you, right? So
yeah, it's great for me because then I get that point back later. So
yeah, just mark a crown and then we'll resolve the crown later. But let's get your clues out. Well, we'll come back to your clues. So Esther, who are you chatting up first? And I'll make a note of I'll get all the suspects' names written down while you're kind of thinking about it.
Ida came out. Who screamed?
Mrs. White.
I guess I'll talk to Mrs. White then.
Okay. So Mrs. White is, she's got her cat ears. She's a little shaken for sure. And she says, I just found him like that. It's horrible. I mean, I know Mr. Vidal was bound to go and get himself killed at some point. Frankly, I'm surprised it took this long. Person I'm more worried about is poor Mrs. Vidal. Someone needs to make sure she's looked after.
Did you see anything though? And any like shadowy figures or?
Do the meddling move with presence, see if you can draw it out of her.
No, 6.
We'll come back to that. And Ruth, you're going through pockets. Do meddling with reason.
All right. That's not going to be good. No, it's 4. This actually never works. I don't know why I always do it, but
Right. Yeah. So you're all there. You're all chatting. You're in this back like porch area, or kind of a veranda. It's covered, but it's sort of open to the outside, right? There's like, it's screened in, right? And there's a wicker settee and a coffee table and lots of looks like kind of the Golden Girls lanai, right? Lots of floral prints and palm leaf prints and things like that. Potted plants. And it's lit with lights overhead. And everyone's a little shaken. You're going through pockets, Ruth, and Esther, you're chatting Mrs. White up. Everyone's there. The lights go out. There's you think everyone's there. Of course, someone could have slipped away, right? And you not noticed. But in any case, the lights go out. There's a lot of hubbub, like everyone's kind of stumbling around, like where's the light switch? All that's kind of going on. And Esther, you just hear a and when the lights come back on, Mrs. White has collapsed into your arms and she has a dagger plunged into her chest.
Help!
That's for both roles, by the way. Ruth, what do you do?
I'll try to go help Esther and like ease Mrs. White to the ground here.
Yeah, you can lower her to the ground, and everyone's shocked, and Sheriff Dalrymple, just to make it more complicated, since we had 2 missed rolls, Sheriff Dalrymple comes in at this point and he says, why am I not surprised? Esther, Ruth, a dead body. I'm starting to wonder, ladies. Starting to wonder. This looks awfully fishy. Oh, 2 dead bodies. Terrific.
Well, you know all about fishy dead bodies, wouldn't you?
Let's not get into it, Esther. I'm afraid no one's going to be able to leave tonight. Not until I crack this case. And some of you, looking at Esther holding Mrs. White, who's been stabbed, or previously holding, covered in her blood in any case. Some of you are more suspect than others, I'm afraid. All right, so I'll be conducting my interviews in the bar. Let's start with you. He says that to Elena, and Elena says, "Oh, yes, officer." And she goes off. Richard says, "Well, looks like this is where we're going to be having our little reunion tonight, Ruth."
Well, it's not what I would have chosen, but there's plenty of champagne.
Yeah, it's not bad, actually.
No, I mean it's alcoholic for sure.
I know. What are you doing right now? I owe you clues, don't I?
Yep.
You are You are poking around the basin, reaching your hand into the basin.
Oh yeah, she's rooting around in it.
Something cuts your hand. There's glass in there. If you begin fishing it out, you'll notice that it's the pieces of a shattered Britty award.
No.
Abner's shattered Britty award. And here's where you'll notice that Abner has been hit on the head as well. This is likely how he was killed or knocked out.
All right. I think she dislodges a piece of it from her hand. She shakes her head from side to side. These things seem to be, they should rename them. They're not the Britty Awards, they're the Brittle Awards.
That's great. That's good, like IT humor, I feel like. Tech humor. Good. I love it. I owe you a void clue as well. Right around this time, you'll notice that there is a thick, heavy mist rolling in rapidly outside, and you all see shadowy figures in the mist outside the veranda. Maybe it's just trick-or-treaters who lost their way, but maybe it's something else. But in any case, you have one void clue for this mystery. I'll write that down real quick.
Yeah, I think as that rolls in, and several people have already moved off of the veranda inside, following after Sheriff Dalrymple, I imagine. And I think Ida, lingers and watches this fog roll in, and thinks back to just when they were in Boston and all the crazy stuff that happened there. And she just sort of like nods slowly and then turns around and heads inside herself.
Oh, thank you for the reminder, Dan, that I owe you a scarecrow clue. I have a great idea for the scarecrow clue. So Ruth, are you going back in as well?
Yeah.
Ruth, since you seem to be the one getting the door every time, you hear trick or treat outside.
All right. Yeah. Open it up.
There are some kids, dressed in little kid costumes, Power Rangers. They're all themed Power Rangers.
What candy do we have to give them? What were they providing at this house?
I don't know if there was any. But there are definitely it's all the Power Rangers, including the green one, but two pink ones instead of a pink and a yellow. That's just because my sisters were super into Power Rangers and they always fought over who got to be the pink one. So they always both were the pink one. Just because they like pink. And so I like to give them some champagne. You don't see any candy. What do you do?
I'm just gonna grab something, whatever's closest to the door, like maybe a little decorative vase or something, and give it to him.
Good. Yeah. Give him an objet. As you're doing that, the blue Power Ranger says, behind his mask, "This is for you." And he pulls out of his little pumpkin a folded piece of paper and puts it in your hand.
Well, thanks, buddy. This is for you. It's a fake Fabergé egg.
If you unfold the piece of paper, it's just a sequence of numbers. That's your scarecrow clue.
All right.
Esther, what are you up to?
I believe I am covered in blood. I would like to no longer be covered in blood. So I feel like I'm going to take off, I go to the washroom or something, and I get a Ziploc bag or something from the staff. And I'm going to take off my little outer bee costume and fold it up as carefully as I can and put it in this Ziploc bag. And I'm going to come out into the party, and I am wearing like the tightest fitting cat suit and still my little like bee antenna and just like lean in right into sexy Halloween trope. And then I'm just gonna walk over to the sheriff, even if he's like, you know, interviewing someone, whatever. And I'm gonna like toss the Ziploc bag at him and be like, that's for your evidence pile.
He says,
and then I'm gonna get some fucking champagne.
As you're getting your champagne, he says, once again, I will give my standard warning and advice that I would really prefer you leave this to the authorities, Esther, and that we do not, in fact, need your help on this one, but I know you're going to ignore me, but nevertheless, I have to say it, and so it is said. Ida, what are you doing right now?
I think Ida. Oh man, because now we've had another victim as well. I think she's going to. Is there anyone who seems particularly affected by the murders?
Well, probably Coco, but it seems like Coco is more upset about Mrs. White being murdered. She's like very concerned about Mrs. White's body more so than Abner's, it seems. But
Okay, I think she'll go over to her first, like looking for who seems the most, not necessarily suspicious, just like what seems out of place here. And so she'll go over to Coco and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, dear. Is there anything I can do for you right now?"
she says, well, I think I just need to sit down. Could you help me to the Tinseltown room?
Absolutely. And she'll like lend her shoulder and walk her in there.
We have to paint the scene for the Tinseltown room. As you step into this sort of large den / lounge area of the Vidal home, this is for everyone. What do we see that is a reminder of Abner and Coco's life in Hollywood?
What's that? There's a really famous theater in Hollywood, the Chinese one.
Chinese.
Yeah. Yes, the Grauman's Chinese Theater. So you know it has that very iconic like entryway, right, with like the roof. I think that the trim around the doorway into the Tinseltown room is built to be reminiscent of that silhouette.
Yes, that's good. I like it. Nice. Dan or Alicia?
So they just have like the red carpet rolled out through the center of the room.
Nice.
I think that Abner has, he was a little bit older, right?
Yeah, they're about your age.
Yeah, I think he has like a reel of film from his first movie mounted on the wall.
Nice. I like it. Who wants to name that movie? What schlocky B horror movie was this? Was this Werewolf Nuns of Normandy Part 1, the original, the one that made his career?
This was Space Hookers from Planet Xenon.
I love it. And yeah, so Coco's there. She's just like, I mean, I just don't know why anybody would want to kill Abner. He's so harmless. I mean, it's true, he snores quite a lot, and he's sometimes a bit of a cheapskate when it comes to dining out, but why would somebody want to kill him over something like that? And Mrs. White, I mean, she was such a dear. She's been with us for so long. I mean, she was almost like a sister to me.
Oh, to lose two people close to you in such rapid succession. I can't imagine your loss. Is there?
Well, I'm almost expecting someone to yell "cut!" Like this is just a scene in a movie, and none of it's real, you know?
Yeah, if I hadn't seen the bodies myself, I might be right there with you. Is there anyone you can think of that had any sort of ill will or negative feelings towards either of them, but especially towards Abner.
Take the meddling move with presence.
Okay. What's my presence looking like these days, huh? It is a 0, so that's a 3 and a 2. That's a 5.
We'll come back to that. So, Ruth, after you're done having a piece of paper slipped into your hand from a blue Power Ranger, what do you do?
I think I'm gonna go find Gordon again.
Yeah, Gordon is there. He's sitting in. He's in the. Where's he going to be? Oh, I think he's in Abner's office. He's kind of gravitating towards the space that he's most comfortable in, and he's a banker, so that's where you would find him. Abner's office is another good paint the scene for everyone. Abner is very bad at business. Looking around his office, how do we know this?
Lots of Beanie Babies that were an investment on a shelf, like the very fancy lens.
So good. I may or may not have aunts who invested heavily in Beanie Babies back in the day. David or Alicia?
I think that there are some like certificates from a sort of like Nixium style like cult / professional development thing that he sunk a lot of money into.
Good. It's very Hollywood. So yeah.
I think there's like a 14-volume self-help series on one of his shelves that like there are little tags and stuff sticking out of. Like they've been like well read and are even like certain pages marked and stuff.
Nice, good. So Ruth, you'll see Gordon in there. He's sitting just like he's sitting at Abner's desk. And he says, "Oh, you again. Care to join me?" And he has like a tumbler of scotch or something.
Well, sure. So is the party more exciting now?
He'll pour you a scotch from the little bar cart, and he says, "Look at this place. I have a feeling that Abner was maybe not much of a businessman."
Well, sure, but that's why he had you, right?
Well, that's why he has his manager, Marcus Greaves, and Mr. Turlington, his partner in their little venture downtown.
What is that again?
Oh, well, he and Sam Turlington. Turlington's the one in the Phantom of the Opera costume. They were planning on buying up a lot of waterfront property and turning it into mixed-use developments. It's a bit of a scandal. A lot of the old timers here in town disapprove, but it is undeniably a lot of money on the line.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it would change the character of the waterfront, though.
Well, definitely, certainly. June Willoughby was very, very angry about the whole thing. She's been trying to, she's had a petition going to stop it. She's trying to get town council, to come out against it. I just go where the money goes.
So, I mean, do you think it was a good idea?
Well, I think it's a terrible idea. I think it's vulgar. And it's the sort of thing that would, like you said, ruin the character of our little burg. But I also like very, very large deposits. Something of a fetish of mine.
Uh-huh. Do you mind if we record this conversation?
Yes, I do mind.
Oh, no one's ever said that before.
So what do you do at this point? He's giving you quite a lot just for free here.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be like, well, look, you know that the sheriff is corrupt. And I mean, the deputy's an idiot. I mean, he's family, but he's an idiot. So, like, why don't you help me toss the office real quick and see what we can find and see if we can bust this thing open, you know? I can deputize you as an honorary murder maven.
He says, I can't think of anything I would find more disagreeable, but I'll help you. And he stands up and begins to go through drawers and things, and you can have your meddling move roll with reason.
That's a 10.
Nice. We'll come back to that, and let's just get one more scene with Esther, then we'll take a break. So Esther, what are you up to after you get your champagne and tell off Sheriff Dalrymple?
So good old Bloodhound Esther and her hatred of the sheriff, she's not going to leave him alone. So I think that I've got my champagne, I've got my sexy outfit, and I'm gonna do a little scene, and I'm just gonna be flirting with someone nearby, but all with the intention of trying to listen into what's happening with the sheriff.
I like it. You can do the flirting with Marcus Greaves. He's the one who's not in a costume, and he's the business manager. And I'm enjoying all that. Let's just have the meddling move with presence, see how you do.
Okay. Presence. 9.
Nice. Let's take a 5-minute break. We will come back and get some clues, and I will update the mysteries with the various character names. Okay. Ida, did you have a roll on the table with Coco?
I did. I rolled a 5 in the meddling
that's
there.
Right. We'll come back to that. Ruth, you're tossing the office, and the thing that you find that is most intriguing, yours was the 10 plus, right?
Yep.
Is a document from the city. It is a rejected building permit application. Good application for a building permit. And Esther, you are doing a dance, or a literal dance here, or just being kind of flirtatious?
No, just being kind of flirtatious.
Got it. You're at the bar, right? Listening to the sheriff. Sheriff's incompetent. You're not getting anything useful out of him. But while you are at the bar being flirtatious with Marcus, you'll notice on a shelf behind the bar, there is a plastic pumpkin. And inside the plastic pumpkin, hold on. Where is it at? No. Inside the plastic pumpkin are a bunch of half-empty pill bottles, painkillers mostly. That's your clue. I owe you a complication as well. Let me think on that for a minute. I'm curious what you do, though, after you find these pills.
Can I pocket one of the bottles?
Sure. Yeah. And I think I've figured out the complication at this point. Marcus will say, So after he's done with all of us talking about the sheriff, what do you say you take me out and show me the sights in this lovely little seaside town of yours?
There we go. I'm just gonna like lean forward and like take his hand real old lady like and be like, oh dear, I'm sorry, this was a ruse. Haven't you heard? I'm gay now.
He says, no, I haven't heard. I don't know who you are. And he just walks off angrily. Ida. You are in the Tinseltown room. And the lights go out again. And Coco's like, again? Oh, we must have some sort of like wiring problem or something in this house.
Or something.
There is a screen in the room, like a movie screen, and a projector. And the projector comes on and is projecting a scene on the screen. You hear the little, as the film reel's playing. And I'm giving you a void clue.
Okay.
You see the woods. It's black and white footage. Something about the woods in the image tells you that it's in Brindlewood Bay or outside of Brindlewood Bay. What is it? Something in the shot.
I think could it be near when we were at Snowdrop House and went off onto their property, there was like the cave back there.
Yeah.
Could it be near there or something?
Absolutely, yeah. And we'll even see the cave. And so the camera's like kind of moving through the woods, and then we see the cave, and it's this grainy black and white footage. And you see some people leaving the cave. They're all wearing robes and hoods and masks, ceremonial masks. And here's where I'd like to ask you a question, Ida. Remind us about your late husband. What's the story there?
So her late husband, Hugh, they met each other while both working for I think I had said like IBM or something. And so they were in sort of the same domain as far as work was concerned, more on the technical and the software and hardware. And what in particular do you want to know about him?
That's it. Just kind of, how'd he die?
I think it was heart disease. I don't think Hugh took great care of himself. And I think at a certain point, there's sort of a slippery slope there.
Yeah. And so these people are coming out of the cave. They appear to have just finished some sort of ritual. They're carrying various implements, and they're talking about something, but there's no audio, so you can't tell what they're saying. But they're engaged in some kind of discussion based off the movements of their hands. And at a certain point, they all sort of disperse, except one of them continues to walk toward the camera, seemingly by themselves. And they get close to the camera and they drop their hood and they pull off their mask, and it's Hugh. It's like he's looking directly at you, Ida, and he just smiles and then walks off frame. How are you feeling?
Ida is feeling very confused, I think, first and foremost. Was there anything at all in the film that could date it? Like does it seem to be
He looked
present, or
he looked younger.
Looked younger? Okay.
Yeah.
Then I think more than anything, I think she's hurt. I think she's not, instead of immediately doubting the authenticity of this, I think enough crazy stuff has happened in the recent times that she's just sort of buying in. And I think to think that you know someone and then to see something like this, she's surprised and she's hurt.
Take the condition hurt, and I'm going to note your void clue. Coco says, "Are you okay, dear? You seem like you've seen something rather shocking. I mean, I promise you, these movies of Abner's, they're just for fun. They're very silly."
I hope so. Could you excuse me? I'll come back and we can talk more later. I need to have another champagne, I think.
She says, "You and me both." And we'll cut over to Ruth. Ruth, after you're done finding your key piece of evidence, what do you do? Gordon says, "This is fun. I feel almost like a Hardy Boy."
Oh man. All right. I love Gordon. So yeah, I think we're all done here. Maybe I'll go catch up to June Willoughby.
June is flirting with Richard currently.
Oh, she's the worst. Okay.
She says, "I hope you don't think that I'm being too forward, me being a married woman and you being a younger man. But, well, my costume," it's a sock hop poodle skirt costume. She says, "My costume, I think, just is making me feel a little, giving me a youthful vigor and glow. Don't you think?"
So when I walk up, I'm definitely going to put my hand on his shoulder and be like, "Oh, I see you've met my dick."
She says, "How very droll of you, Ruth. Can I get anyone some champagne?" And she just huffs away without waiting on an answer. Richard says, "Thank you. She's a lot."
Oh, she really is. We're on the same side with this waterfront thing, but I still hate her.
He's like, "She seems very hateable." Well, waterfront thing, what's that all about?
Oh, well, I'll go into it and talk about the effects on the migratory shorebirds that it would have and how terrible it all is.
He's like, yeah. Seems like everybody wants a piece of Brindlewood Bay,
Yeah, I gotta tell you, there's a lot of crazy shit happening here. And I think I'm just telling him everything. I'm going into the cult background and stuff. I'm just dropping void clues on him left and right.
His head is spinning. He doesn't really know what to make of any of that. Esther, what are you doing in the meantime?
So, I don't know. I just have this feeling. Something just compels me ever since we got back from Boston. I feel changed, and I'm no longer well, I was never really content to let the sheriff go, but something really drives me to take him down now, like a darkness, so to speak. And I want to slip the painkillers onto his person in some way.
Dirty pool. Very good. That's a night move. What are you afraid is going to happen if you fail?
I guess I'm afraid that he'll catch me doing it.
Yeah, he'll catch you, and I think it's worse than that. He will reveal to you just how much of a villain he is in that moment.
Excellent.
Take it with composure. If you want to mark the pills, you can put those in your cozy little place, and yeah, you can put them in your cozy little place and mark them if you want to get an advantage.
All right, let's do that.
Yeah.
I really want to take him down. Oh, I can mark it after. Okay. Oh, thank God. That's an 8.
Okay. Well, where do I want to go with this? I think the complication is just going to be that someone sees you. If you're okay with that, we'll let it roll. Otherwise, you can mark crown to have it be clean. But describe the scene up into just like what does it look like? How does this work?
So I guess I've got my champagne. I was doing my flirting. Maybe. I mean, it's now known, I guess, that Esther's a little bit of like a party girl when she's drunk, and so I'm probably playing that up a little bit, and I'm gonna attempt like that little bit of like a oops and like bump into him and then like slide them into his pocket.
He says, maybe it's time for you to get a coffee, Esther. What do you think?
I don't like you, but that's probably a good idea. Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
He says, he goes to find the next interviewee, which happens to be you, Ida. He will find you as you're getting your champagne and say, well, Ida, come on, I've got to ask you what's going on here. What did you see? Tell me everything.
Oh boy.
Are you okay? Normally this sort of thing gets you excited. You seem a little crestfallen right now.
Yeah. I think she like is unresponsive at first, and then she looks up and says, Did you know my late husband, Hugh?
Oh, sure. I did actually. He lived here before you were even together, if I recall correctly. Isn't this how you ended up here? I thought that was the connection.
Yeah, he did choose the locale. I was happy with the waterfront, and
His family goes way back in Brindlewood Bay, but I'm sure you do that as well.
yeah, yes, of course. He did have lots of relatives in the area.
All right. Well, so let's stay focused.
Anyway,
Ida.
yes, your questions.
Well, what did you see?
Well, relating to our murders, hardly anything at all. I heard the screams from the veranda. I was one of the first on the scene, of course, except for Miss White, also deceased now, who was there and the one who screamed.
Do you think it's possible that Esther killed them both?
No, not in
Now,
remotely.
I know Esther's your friend. It's impossible for me to fathom that anyone can be her friend, but I know she's your friend, but you've got to be honest with me here. You've got to tell me the truth. Justice demands it.
I am familiar with what justice demands as much as the next person, Sheriff. Although I don't think speeches about justice are necessarily something I want to hear from you right now. But there's no way. She was nowhere near the veranda when he was killed.
But Mrs. White was found dead in her arms.
Yeah. Funnily enough, when someone is stabbed, they do tend to fall over. Yes.
All right, fine. So, well, do you have any theories? Do you have any ideas?
Well, where were you this evening, Sheriff?
Whoa, touche, Ida.
You
But
certainly were fast on the scene.
if you must know, I was in the neighborhood with my grandchildren trick-or-treating.
What were they dressed as?
He pauses.
Shadowy figures in the darkness, perhaps?
No, like a bear, fuzzy bear thing. It's colors.
Sounds convincing, sure. Well, Sheriff, if there's no other questions you have for me, I have a real investigation to conduct.
Here's where I have to give you my standard advisory that you need to leave this to us, Ida, to the authorities. Don't go meddling around.
No, I will consider that as I bust this case wide open.
Good. Ruth, what are you doing right now? Still with Richard or something else?
I do want to talk to June, so I'll catch up to her if I can.
June will say, well, I have to admit, Ruth, that's quite a handsome man you have there.
Indeed he is. And did you come here with someone? Oh no, you came alone, didn't you?
You know that my Ronald passed away last year.
I'm sorry, that was the Jampade talking.
She says, it's okay. So, I'm getting ready to put together this year's annual Ugly Christmas Sweater Carol-a-thon. I assume I can count on your support and participation again this year.
Well, I always participate every year, and that's not going to change.
You do always bring the ugliest Christmas sweater. I'll give you that.
Well, thank you. I mean, that is the point of it. So I play to win.
Well,
I glance knowingly at Richard across the room.
She says, well, all this business is so dreadful, isn't it? I mean, gosh, who would want to kill the maid?
Yeah, that's what confuses me too, honestly. Like, I can see, Abner, like that makes sense, but it does seem thorough to kill the maid as well.
Well, all I know is I didn't do it.
Well, but you certainly can't be upset that he's gone, right? I mean, this has got to be a major setback for the development of the waterfront.
Yes, that's true. But, well, let's just say that Abner and I had a bit of a love-hate relationship.
Let's talk about the love part of it.
Make a meddling move with presence. I like this little duel that you have going on. I'd like to see how it shakes out.
So can I use my Frank Columbo with her?
Absolutely. She's definitely richer than you. Yeah, I love it. That'll give you a bonus clue, right?
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
10.
Nice. You'll get
actually, can I use a crown and go up to 12?
Yeah, because you'll get 2 clues and 2 void clues as well. That ramps it up
Sounds
fast.
good.
That's the power move in this game. I love it. We'll come back to that. Where do I want to go from here? So Ruth is chatting with June. Ida's having it out with the sheriff. Esther, where do we leave you?
I had just dropped the pills in the sheriff's
That's
pocket.
right. Someone saw you.
Yeah.
And I think we'll pick up with that, in fact. Sam Turlington, the local business partner who's dressed in family opera costume, he'll catch you in a hallway, and he'll say, he'll do that thing. He'll like flounce his cape out to like kind of create a barrier so you can't go any further. Not really, but he'll say, "Hold on there. I saw what you did."
Had a little too much champagne. Yes, lots of people saw that.
No, I saw you slip something into the sheriff's jacket.
I'm sorry, I don't know to what you're referring.
Well, just seems to me that when two people end up dead, one of them, my business partner, and someone is sneaking around, slipping things into people's pockets, it makes you look suspicious. Oh, right. And that same person was found holding the dead body of one of the victims as well.
Yes, I suppose that does seem suspicious, but
So give me one reason why I shouldn't go tell the sheriff right now.
the sheriff and I have, shall we say, some personal beef.
I see. So this is a sort of spy versus spy thing. You're trying to get at each other.
Yes, precisely.
Well, the sheriff is actually one of the biggest impediments to a deal I'm trying to do right now, that Abner and I were trying to do. And, well, I can't say that I would be unhappy to see something happen to the sheriff.
Well, then I suggest that you chalk up what you saw to a little too much champagne.
Yeah, maybe I will.
Is an impediment to a lot of things in this town, primarily justice.
He says, "You may be right. I'll keep an eye open for anything else that might be a complicating factor for Sheriff Dalrymple."
Excellent. And you know where to find me. I'm making quite a stir.
Yes, you are. Well, I'm going to go get some air. And he walks towards the back veranda. Ida, what do you do when you're done with the sheriff? Or are you done with the sheriff?
I definitely think after that last quip, she probably storms off to do more of her investigation. I think I want to do the fox molder.
Very good. You're up to 2 void clues. So
Yes.
That's good for later.
And potentially 2 more here with Ruth, depending on when I actually get to my next.
Yeah. It will be ultimately +4. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I love it. So what do you have to do, Fox Molder? You have to just tell us how you, like, what it looks like when you meet.
Yeah.
Right?
So I have an idea in mind. So I think that she steps back out onto the veranda and like walks over to where there's like what blood fell onto the ground and missed Esther from Miss White's demise. And she sort of like stares there at the imprint for a moment. And when she looks up there, just below the veranda, standing, in the grass, there's a figure darkened by shadow, but who immediately she recognizes. And I think like all we get of this conversation is just her like muttering to herself, "Well, I understand how Hugh introduced us now."
Very good. Like that detail. Ruth, June says, "Well, if you must know, Ruth, Abner and I were social acquaintances. If you know
Just
what
how
I mean.
social?
very social.
I see.
To prove it to you, let's go up to their room. I've seen things up there.
Lead the way.
You go up to Abner and Coco's bedroom, and here's a paint the scene. Abner and Coco had a pretty interesting sex life. What evidence do we see of this as that's casually strewn about the room?
I think there's a couple of like rope harnesses that are just like, tossed over a chair, idly tossed there after some kind of use, you assume.
Dan or Alicia?
There's a yeah, I think there's just like an unexplained writing crop just propped up against the wall.
I think that there are 4 bathrobes hanging, or like silk robes, right? Like one with Abner's name and one with Coco's, and two that just say like guest.
June says to you, Ruth, she says, as you can see, Abner was into some pretty risque things.
Wow. Well, I take back anything I might have implied about your lack of a sex life, June. You can get it.
Well, Ruth, I will take that as a compliment from you. So she's sort of like roaming around the room, like turning things over. I have seen some things here. I don't know if they're relevant to the events of tonight, but, well. And here she will start to kind of open drawers, very invasive, kind of going through their stuff. And she says, I mean, this, for example. And she opens up a wardrobe. And inside the wardrobe are a pair of muddy boots. She says, oh, the mud is fresh. I think someone's just used these. That's your first clue.
Okay.
What are you doing in the meantime?
I mean, I'm not going to be the one not opening every drawer in the room, so.
You're poking around and...
Oh, actually, so real quick, I think my crown thing fits here, because I did a scene in the present day showing how you satisfy your physical desires.
Oh,
I think I
it.
take
Go
a
for
picture of the writing crop and send it to Richard downstairs.
Nice. Okay, good. So you're poking around as well, and you will find where do I want to go with this? I think there are some Halloween decorations up because it is Halloween still. And there are some like spider webs, kind of strewn around the room. And you're looking around and you see that in the spider webs and the sort of decorative spider webs, there appears to be a real human finger tangled in them. June says, what do you got there?
This looks like a very realistic decoration, doesn't it?
And she says, oh, it really is. And she touches the like where it would have been severed. And she's like, oh, is this like corn syrup, I wonder? And she's like, oh, I don't think this is a decoration, Ruth. How quickly can I get this taste out of my mouth without betraying my cool exterior? And she goes to the bathroom.
I'll stuff the finger into a condom. Stick it in my pocket.
Very good. Oh, you 2 void clues as well. We'll come back to the void clues though. So just reorient everybody in time and space. Esther, where were you?
Speaking with Sam about.
That's right. Oh, you were making a little pact with Sam. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. So what do you do after your pact?
I think now's a good time that I'm gonna go and get some champagne, theme of the night, and some snacks, and hunt down Ida. They're not for me. I'm bringing the champagne and the snacks to Ida, obviously. Okay.
And Ida, where does she find you?
So I think that Ida, after wrapping up her conversation with her fox molder mysterious someone there on the veranda, I think right before Esther arrives, I also owe a Crown of the Queen scene. And I think I have a flashback of her fondest memory of her late partner. I think like while she's standing there after having this conversation, she's like thinking back, obviously because of things that have come up this evening, on her relationship with Hugh. And I think like she remembers a time where they were out in some vessel they'd rented, some small boat. They were out on the bay together and were having some drinks, catching some fish. I think she'd gotten quite lucky and caught like a fairly good sized tuna or something. And, Hugh had that filleted and they were, enjoying the bounty of the sea. And she like remembers that day with like really like, rose colored glasses, but like in thinking back on the memory now, she remembers Hugh sometimes casting furtive glances to shore, like he was seeing somebody he recognized there. And like she's just like remembering little moments like this sprinkled throughout their history together of times when he was distracted by something else or was gone for periods of time or things like that. So she's like deep in thought when Esther arrives.
Take it away.
Oh, Ida, I've been looking for you. I brought you some champagne and some snacks.
Hello, Esther. Oh, wow. You were a bee.
Yes. The most unfortunate situation with Mrs. White kind of ruined my costume. And suddenly I think that I'm like very self-conscious. So like out there was like super confident and I'm now very aware of just how tight this is.
Well, I guess if there's a silver lining to all this, you look incredible.
I mean, it's, things sag now with age, but
and she like waves a hand. Are you, I know we've just met at this party, but are you doing anything later or?
Oh, you. Yeah. Well, a kindly gentleman asked me if I wanted to see him later, but I think I disappointed him slightly.
Tonight has been a night of disappointment for some, but after this is all said and done, I have some revelations of my own to share with you and Ruth and Laura. All those strange things that we've encountered recently might have been going on for a lot longer and quite close to home.
Are you all right?
I'll definitely take that glass of champagne. And I hope we can wrap up this mystery quickly this evening. If I'm honest, losing a bit of my appetite for it tonight.
So I'll hand you the champagne and then just like kind of like lightly like stroke your back, hoping then that makes you feel better.
I think it does help a little bit.
Good. Ruth. There's been music playing all night on a sound system that goes throughout the house. And it's like sort of jazzy classics, you know, like Gershwin, that kind of thing, right? Standards, you know. And that one song is playing, Life Would Be a Dream, that's playing, right? When it kind of stops and starts going backwards, it's going on for some time. And then you realize you start to hear words in the backwards lyrics, like words are being spoken. It's starting to make sense. It's saying, the child will rise, the child will rise, the child will rise. And then, that's one void clue. And then the doorbell rings again. Ding dong.
I'll get it.
No one else is. When you go downstairs, no one's responding to the doorbell ringing.
I
Ding
grabbed
dong,
another,
ding dong,
I grabbed
ding
another
dong.
vase on my way to the door.
The child will rise. The child will rise. When you open the door, someone wearing an incredibly realistic Minotaur costume is standing at the door. It's a large, muscular man, and the mask is a very realistic looking bullhead mask with horns and inky black eyes. He's not carrying a plastic pumpkin. What do you do?
I'll offer him the decorative vase.
He ignores you, snorts, and steps into the hall with heavy footsteps. Bump, bump. He's wearing no shoes. He's just tracking, he's just got like muddy, maybe bloody footprints as he's clumping into the middle of the hall, snorting, heaving. And on the audio system, a child will rise, the child will rise. And we'll end the session there for today. Let's go to end of session questions. You all did solve a mystery, so everybody gets an XP for that one. And Esther, did you dote on someone?
I think I did. That's what I was trying to do with Ida, at least.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And did you behave like a woman half your age? Yes, you did that as well.
I also did my extrajudicial
Indeed.
justice thing. Yeah.
So that all sounds good to me. Get 3 XP, or well, an advancement and then 1 extra XP. And then let's go to Ruth. Did you secretly undermine the authority of a local official?
I've been recruiting civilians to contaminate a crime scene all night long and shit talking the sheriff.
I'll take it. And did you behave like a woman half your age?
Maybe with my with
Richard.
the war with June over Richard.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. And Ida, did you show someone that you've, quote, still got it?
I don't think so this session.
Did you secretly undermine the authority of a local official?
She did like have lots of things she already knew about the crime that she just absolutely did not share with Sheriff Dalrymple.
Yeah, I'll take it. Sounds good to me. And let's do stars and wishes. Whoever wants to go first, take it away.
Star to the I see you've met my dick joke. That was the highlight for me.
So I also have a star for Esther just getting drunk constantly. I'm really enjoying drunk Esther and like enjoying the fact that we're getting chances to see it like in every mystery.
I really liked Jason, you bringing Hugh into this. I thought was interesting. We haven't done a lot with some of people's backgrounds, a little bit with Ruth and a little bit with Laura, I think, but so bringing in that, I thought there's a lot to go from there. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, that was a start for me too. I like how you reacted to it. Like I felt like your reaction to that was very honest, and it felt like the right reaction to have if you had just seen this. I also like the sort of unspoken, there was almost like an unspoken tension with it because of your burgeoning or your flowering romance with Esther, and then like your husband just happens to be back on the scene in a way, which is like, it felt almost like the cosmos like sort of pushing back against you, which I thought was really interesting. In addition to just the sort of mystery of it. And yeah, that's one of my stars. I've got more, but if somebody else wants to go for it.
I love Esther's cat suit. I just love that. I love that transition between like, big, almost empty bee sort of costume to like tight fitting cat suit, just tossing the bloody one to the sheriff. I thought was great. I really liked that.
Yeah, I really liked your reaction to that as Ida. You were a bee was great.
I love the recurring thing of Ruth answering the door. That's that might be my favorite thing from the session, is just the increasing craziness of that.
Yeah, it's like every time the door got answered, if you were watching it on TV, you would know that third like that increasing like weirdness of answering the door was really great, right? So yeah, I kind of love that. Star for me, I loved just the overall tension of this session, of this mystery. Well, so actually going back to the last mystery too, I thought the theorizing was really good on that. That was enjoyable. But and then once we got into this mystery, I liked that it started with this like levity, but then like it just shifted to be I don't even think creepy is the right word. It just shifted to be this like much more like tightly wound situation than it was originally started as, which I thought was really great. It felt good. There were moments where I was like, "Ooh, like this is what's going to happen right now," So it was fun, and just also like the kind of weaving in and out of like Abner and Coco's life, right, and kind of just weaving in and out of different aspects of it, like the way you really only can in like their home, which I thought that was really enjoyable.
Similarly, and I think I said this about Snowdrop House too, I like how we went from like Boston, big and open in lots of places, to I think what's contributing to this tension is this claustrophobia of this like tight enclosed space, and the fact that also Star to the sheriff clearly having it out for Esther. I like this like already developed, I guess, like villainous relationship between the two of them. And it does like, as a player, it makes me like legitimately nervous because he's around all the time in this very small space.
Yeah, I feel like you're getting the experience I had with the sheriff in the previous mysteries, where it's like, this guy's gunning for you and there's not really a whole lot you can do about it.
Along those lines, if I were to do a wish for where things could go from here, especially since I'm currently writing on a potential +4 to whatever my next role is because of Fox Mulder, I almost want to go to a theorize sooner rather than later on this. And I'm really interested in pushing the Sheriff Dalrymple angle. I don't know what form that would take yet, but like Esther's sort of laid some of the groundwork for that. And even if like in reality, it may not be completely true. I like the idea of us leaning into that a bit for the next, but that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm going to add here it's not a wish so much as just something that we should all be aware of and anticipate, which is you are all one void clue away from unlocking void mystery. So that's pretty exciting because it's the threshold's one lower because of Ida. And that's great because essentially, I think what I'm going to do is after this mystery is done, we'll have, assuming we get one more void clue before it ends, we'll do a sweep mystery, which has no implication with the midwives at all. It's totally separate from that. And then we'll come back and do the mystery where you face off against the midwives. I think that'd be a nice tidy way to wrap up things. So it's pretty exciting. So I'm just excited about that.
Yeah, I'll just chime in to say also, obviously, I'm angling for taking the sheriff down in the process of this, so I would be really into that. I also
you all have the power, so
I have one more star to give out just for like Ruth the player. I'm loving this. Like the sheriff thing was super traumatic, and so I really just love that you've like moved on entirely. Something about that I just really enjoy.
Yeah, I'm weirdly invested in Ruth and Richard's relationship now.
I like it. I actually also I actually really liked the quite quick transition of June and Ruth being like rivals, especially for a moment, rivals over a man, to being like allies in the investigation. Because for one thing, I just like find women arguing over a man to be very tiresome trope, but also it was just kind of fun to see that switch. That was enjoyable. So yeah, I played June Willoughby a million times because she's like a prominent character in the setting. She even appears in other mysteries, but like and other Willoughbys do as well, but I've never really played her like this. I've never really played her where she's like an honorary Maven, so that was kind of fun. So yeah. Anything else? Any other stars or wishes?
I mean, just a star for that situation. I really enjoyed how that interplay flipped. Pretty much the moment they made it upstairs and she made good on her claims, and then it wasn't. It's like it was, yeah, like allyship, and it was like they were suddenly co-conspirators. And I think, like, true to Ruth's character, I don't know if Ida would have handled that the exact same way, but like Ruth was like instant forgiveness. Oh yeah, no, like, no, we're totally good. I'm sorry actually about what I said earlier. And like just instant, not quite friends, but like definitely allies, definitely co-conspirators.
What I thought was great about it is you got the impression that Ruth and June have known each other for a long time. Like that felt real in the scene, even though we don't have any basis for that, except that just the characters' backgrounds, I guess. But it was kind of fun. It kind of felt like a genuine, like, oh, they've known each other a while. This is kind of what they do. And, but they're cool right now. So, yeah.
Yeah, kind of on the same lines as that. Like, I think I've had a really interesting time role playing things like asking people for forgiveness, like with Laura earlier on in the previous mystery. Like, that's a really interesting position to have your character be in, of like, oh, I was kind of a dick to you, and I'm really sorry about that.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm used to just murdering people and moving on, man. This is
weird. Indeed. Fabulous. Anything else before we go? Okie doke. Well, in that case, I'm going to stop the recording.